Hello everyone, how is everyone doing today? I am just gonna make a quick video about Classic WoW and looking forward to it when they finally implement it. But one thing that I see a lot of people talk about is the difficulty level of Classic WoW. And so this video is going to be about, was vanilla WoW actually that difficult? And the answer is kind of a tricky one, but in short, no. Vanilla is not nearly as difficult as people make it out to be. The main reason that a lot of people feel like vanilla was this super difficult thing, and it's kind of touted as this, oh, you're hardcore if you leveled in vanilla. It's not because the game itself was super difficult. It's because people had no freaking clue what they were doing. A majority of the player base was just absolutely terrible at the game, and that's part of the charm too. Was people had no clue what they were doing, and so everyone was kind of experiencing this amazing world together and kind of learning how to play at the same time. And you had people who grasped the concept of their class very quickly, and then you had people like myself who did not, and it took forever for them to kind of figure out what they were doing. And I played vanilla WoW back in retail when it was about halfway through vanilla. When I started around 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. But anyway, one of the main things that I've seen people complain about was how you had to grind mobs and everything, and there weren't enough quests. But something that a lot of people forget is that's part of the reason that the game was so good. It was because you didn't have super simple paths necessarily to leveling, and sometimes the level, the questing gaps were pretty terrible. The grind from 50 to 60 was pretty legendary. Western Plaguelands, Eastern Plaguelands, anyone? So anyway, but part of what made the game difficult, like I said, was inexperience. If you didn't know what you're doing, obviously the game is going to be more difficult. Now, that has changed over the years. This is a different time period. You're talking about 2005 was not exactly the heyday of the internet as it is today. If you wanted information, it wasn't a simple Google search away. Usually, you had to go to like Thoughtbot or Wowhead eventually and dig through pages trying to figure out how do I do this quest, or where is this guy located. It was not super intuitive. Let's just put it that way. It took on average like 3 months for avid players to hit max level just because they didn't know what they were doing. You can do it in a couple days now if you really, if you've got your paths down and you know your quest routes. You can really streamline that process. So it's not as difficult as it used to be. One of the things that I noticed was, people are talking about, oh, well, maybe we should lower the cost of mounts. If you know what you're doing, and if you understand how the game works and kind of what your goals need to be, and how you shouldn't just be spending all your money on stuff that you don't necessarily need, it's not as difficult as you might remember. Now, if you have been playing vanilla, and this is the funny thing, because like I see a lot of videos that come out, they're like, oh, these are the 10 things that you don't remember about vanilla WoW that you're just gonna hate to not have these things. The people who have been wanting classic vanilla servers are the ones who have been playing on vanilla classic servers for 10 years now. They know what they're getting into. They understand that there are going to be some quality of life things that are just not there. That's part of the fun. I will make a guide to getting your mount at level 40. If you have no gold and you're level 35, there is a guaranteed 100% pretty much, unless you have absolute garbage luck. There's a pretty much guaranteed way to get enough gold to get your mount by the time you're level 40, and you've starting from 0. I've done this a couple times, but if you know where you're going, you can get about 120-ish gold, I think is what my average was doing this technique. But another thing is I don't think they should try and change too much with like balancing classes or anything like that. A lot of people have been talking about, oh, maybe we should give Paladins taunt, because the only reason Paladins couldn't tank in vanilla, if you're unaware, Paladins were basically unable to tank because they didn't have taunt. It wasn't about survivability, it wasn't about anything other than just holding aggro. If you couldn't hold aggro, you couldn't tank, and so warriors were the only ones that had a viable taunt that could consistently hold them aggro. You know, the game was not balanced around the idea that paladins were going to be a tanking class. They were healing and that was it. So if they can all of a sudden tank, they may have to change other aspects of the game, you know, and balance paladins because they're either too good or too terrible at tanking. And as soon as they start changing things, Blizzard has a great track record of screwing up the game when they start trying to make quality of life changes. So I really think it'd be a good idea to avoid any of that if possible. One problem with the game, and one thing that made the game suffer, was trying to make it accessible to everyone. And what I mean by that is, as soon as they started adding things like Dungeon Finder and Raid Finder and making, you know, groups easier to find, I understand, like, I get it. You don't have a huge amount of time to play if you're busy. Life is, you know, happening, and there's just some times where you just can't play. I do not think that this should mean the game gets ruined for everyone else if you don't have enough time to go find a group and, you know, clear a dungeon that takes 4 hours to clear because your healer has no idea what they're doing and you wipe a million times. So, like, I get that you may not be able to experience some of the content, but that is part of the game. Like, that is part of the fun and the charm of WoW in its original state, was you didn't necessarily have time to do everything you wanted. I'd walk into capital cities and I would see these people who they are, you know, decked out in this raid gear. I never got to raid in original vanilla WoW, like in retail WoW. That never happened. I was never able to get to the point where I was competent enough to go to a raid. I barely knew about dungeons by the time I was level 40. So like it wasn't a possibility for me. But I would walk into these capital cities and I knew that this gear was out there. I would see these people who had like full blue gear, and that was amazing. And then I'd see people who were decked out in some epics, and I was just like blown away. I was like, these people are just like these mythic figures in my mind. And I want to be them. I want to see that. I want to go and do the content that they've done. And, oh gosh, whoops. So they, you know, seeing that there were these people out there that had all this gear that I could not even fathom how long it took them to get that gear or how to even get it. It made me want to progress, though. Even if I never really expected that I would be able to get that kind of gear, but I wanted to try, and it made me keep going. It made people, you know, you wanted to try and keep pushing forward to try and get to that point where you are this legendary figure of just epic proportions. And that has kind of been lost because of things like Dungeon Finder and Raid Finder and all that other kind of thing. And it doesn't matter if you never get to see the content. You know that it's there, and it's something that you want to do, and you can't do it yet, but you're going to keep going until you can. And to lose that, I think, would be a terrible discredit to the game. So I don't want to make this super long, but I don't think they should reduce the difficulty curve. I don't think they should make any sort of like quality of life changes to the game. If they want to implement a chat functionality where you can see your other BattleNet friends, or if it's the new graphics instead of the old graphics, I don't care. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. If they, you know, if they do something like that, it'd be cool to see like maybe an old style graphics setting that you can just toggle. That'd be cool. But like, I just don't want to see the game get, you know, finally we get this thing that we've been wanting, you know, this original WoW in its old original form, and then we start asking for changes. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So in short, I really don't want to see them, you know, lose the original direction of the game. And it would be a true shame if they screwed this up by trying to make it too accessible or too easy. So anyway, I want to know what you guys think, and just give me your opinions on what they should or should not change. And yeah, I'm going to keep trying to make content. Like I said, I'm going to do a video on how to level a warrior efficiently and correctly, and to make it so that it's actually pretty fun. It's one of the most fun classes in the game to play, in my opinion. So anyway, I will see y'all next time, and mash that like button, as the YouTubers say. So anyway, I'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.